You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, away we go for the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take, presented by Bet365. Nick Alberga and Dave Pagnotta out in Los Angeles. How are things out there, buddy? How are you?
Buddy, it's 25 here. I'm great. It's, sorry. I mean, I come home tonight, so I'll deal with all the crap as well, but nice little getaway out here for the last week. Get some Kings games in. Get to see some of the rest of the league. Not too bad.
Yeah, it's a tough field out here, man. It's starting to get pretty damn cold. Yeah, it's starting to get pretty cold out in these parts. It's not ideal, man. I'm not a winter guy. You know this.
Yeah, no. It's I like our sport, and I like when it's like 5 degrees, no wind, and not damp. And then that's it. Once we get to like the minus 25s and then the wind chill and everything, then it's a big hard no for this guy.
Yeah. And the big question I had for you on today's podcast, do you have any relatives involved in building the arena, the ice surface in Italy? Like, I know I don't, but do you?
No, and probably good, because my family's from the South, so we'd get this shit
Me
done
too.
15 minutes before they open. They drop the puck. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked, honestly. I'm surprised they got the dimensions wrong. And I know everyone's going, well, it's the IIHF ice and all that and whatever. It was supposed to be NHL ice. That's why everybody's going, what the hell is this? And it's, in the grand scheme of things, minuscule, but that's what it was supposed to be. So that's why everyone's up in arms going, well, what do you mean it's not NHL size? That's what it was supposed to be. Why'd you switch it? The IHF doesn't give a crap, clearly, and the IOC doesn't care. So whatever. But yeah, I guess 3 days before hockey begins with the women's games, the arena will be finished. So good job, guys.
What could possibly go wrong? But it's the only question I had was like, didn't they have almost a decade to figure this thing out? And it's like last minute and all that. And how goofy, by the way, was that Team USA ad yesterday? Did you see that? Like, I guess John Hamm is the international face of men's hockey in the States, but that was a goofy ad and a couple words said by Austin Matthews, but I thought it was pretty damn goofy.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to be funny, entertaining. I'll keep it
So
PG,
funny.
but
Yeah.
I don't know. The rivalry, it's picked up significantly since Four Nations. I mean, since that game, 9 seconds. Like, it's just been back and forth with that shit. So if they want to, enjoy some Canadian tears, well, listen to some Celine Dion. That gets us going every time.
I don't know if I can call it a rivalry if Canada wins every time. Like, I think the States has to win a tournament for it to be a rivalry. To me, it's just another game against the United States. But looking forward to that.
Well, they won World Championships. They beat us in World Championships, didn't they?
Congrats to them. Congrats to their World Championship title. But I just think this whole Olympic thing is such a disaster. And it's funny, like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, like hockey wasn't even on the radar when it comes to like the national stage because we had missed so much of it. And then even like dating back to last Olympics, it's relatively exciting, but then you throw in this caveat of the ice not being ready. And then to that point, like they're wondering about the consistency of the ice too. And more so curious about these rosters. Do you have any inclination when we're going to hear like the rosters announced? Do they have that in place already or what?
No, I think it's a month out, I believe.
Okay.
It's not so much like they'll test the ice in a month from now. It's more just the rest of the building that needs to be finished. Like the ice is supposed to be ready. It's just, I guess if you want to sit in some seats, they got to put them in. So like they only finished the roof like a month ago of this thing. So that's great. Now they just got to fix out all the other stuff in the concourse levels and whatnot. But the ice itself is supposed to be ready, what is it? Beginning of January. And then it's the 9, 10, 11, whatever it is that they're going to be going through their testing and all that. So I don't know. I guess a month out, it should be enough to make sure that the ice is sustainable for like 5 games in 36 hours. You hope. with technology nowadays, unless they're, just saying screw it and we're using old school stuff, which would surprise me. It should be fine. But this is stuff that should have been checked literally now, and it obviously hasn't been. So it's just annoying. Like for the league, for the NHLPA, they're just annoyed by this situation that, what they told them was going to happen hasn't happened yet. So that's why Bill Daly and everyone's going, look, if the ice isn't ready and the players don't want to play, we're not freaking going. It's pretty simple. That'll cause a shitstorm with the IOC, but I don't think the league gives a crap, and nor should they.
I agree. They shouldn't give a crap at all. Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Devlin Foyston, thank you so much for the Super Chat. At this point, we'd be better off playing the Olympics on an outdoor rink. You're so right. That's the most mind-boggling thing for me, Devlin, is the fact that the Italians have had a long-ass time to know this tournament was coming, and suddenly, days before the women's tourney will start, it's going to be ready. It's insanity to me, but so be it, I guess.
They work with deadlines. When's the tournament? The 5th? All right. It'll be ready for that. That's kind of the mindset, right? Look, what I hope is that, February 5th, women's game starts, 11th, the men's start. They're both amazing, and we don't have to talk about that shit and put it behind us and go, remember when it wasn't ready? That's great. Canada won. That's what I hope, but we'll see.
Would this happen for the World Cup is my prime question, and the answer is no. Let's move the conversation to the Maple Leafs. I don't want to talk about the Olympics anymore.
They got to build up that friggin' thing in Toronto. They haven't even touched that yet.
The pitch. Yeah, you're right. Maybe we have this conversation in a couple months from now ourselves. But in case you guys missed it, coming into the day, Bob McMahon will have a phone hearing with the NHL's Department of Player Safety regarding his Paul Bunyan-like chop last night on Oliver Bjorkstrand. It's funny. I was at the game, so I didn't see it live, and we're all waiting for a 5-minute power play for the knee-on-knee Gage Gonsalves on Dakota Mermis. And then out of nowhere, because again, we're in the press box and not really privy to those angles, and they barely were when it came to the TV crew, it's dueling match penalties, which you don't see that very frequently. But Bob McMahon's going to have a hearing. I can confirm, by the way, nothing extra for Gage Gonsalves. So not even a hearing coming today. But what's your take on McMahon?
Keep those emotions in check, I guess. I mean, the good thing is this isn't going to be blown way out of proportion, and it's just a phone hearing, not an in-person. So, max, excuse me, max 5. But I'm anticipating something. I'm anticipating, a game, most likely for what happened. Just as a quick reminder that you can't be doing shit like that. And I get it, emotions are high, and I don't know what was said on the ice, but you're probably looking at something small like that. The fact that he got a hearing is kind of indicative of the fact that the league's going to put something down on him.
Yeah, I would probably say a game at worst, a fine. I think in doing some digging myself, there's actually quite a comparison to be made to the 2022 similar play, Pierre Engvall on Sean Durzi, the Los Angeles Kings. And you might have the clip. Yeah, thank you to producer Vic, but this is the clip from a couple years back, and I just wonder if this is used as a basis or a comparable when it comes to figuring out what to do here with McMahon. But you would have to think they'll hear him out. But I think because Engvall got a game for that, maybe there's some similarities to draw. Having said that, I know a lot of people have pointed me in the direction of Jacob Trouba and the baseball swing and the fine he got. So you just never truly know until the ruling comes out, right?
Yeah. I mean, and you want to have it because you want to hear his side and what motivated him to do it. And unless he just says, I don't like the guy, I wanted to smoke him. He's probably not going to say that, but you just, again, you want to get his take, and that'll determine what the Department of Player Safety is going to throw down on him. So I'm going to expect a game, or I am expecting a game. We'll see what comes out of all this, but I mean, at the end of the day, you just can't do that.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't forceful or anything. I know I'm a guy who covers the Leafs, and I like the Leafs. Like the knee job, I am a bit shocked. There's nothing further on that, considering Mermis didn't come back. Who the hell knows? It's like the Leafs don't need another injury on the blue line, but here it is. And so again, nothing further on Gonçalves. But you're so right. You got to be able to control your stick, whether it's a tomahawk or a slash. And I think the league has to set that precedence, regardless if you aim to do it or not. You can't pull that crap. And then on top of that, as mentioned back in 2022, they got a very, very comparable play, weirdly enough, involving a Maple Leaf and a former Maple Leaf. And so there's your basis for the 1-game suspension. I mean, it's either going to be a suspension or a 1-game suspension. I know people in the chat are saying more than one. I don't think it'll be more than one. It'll be 1 game or a fine here.
I don't think it's a fine, personally. I think it's a game. Now, maybe it's 1 or 2, and the league's going to determine based on the interview. Well, all right, here's where your mindset is. Fine, we'll just give you 1. I think it'll be 1, but under the circumstances, again, you can't do it. Even if it's a little love tap or something like that, you catch him at a bad angle. It's not good. So again, just a reminder to kind of keep your emotions in check, and as heated as things can be, I'd rather just pop the guy in the face rather than just coming at him with the stick.
That's hockey sometimes, and people make dumb decisions. That's what we saw last night. Again, you can't discount or dispute what Gage Gonçalves said either. Just a weird play in general. Just a lot of turbulence and animosity. And Dakota Joshua drops the gloves for the first time as a Maple Leaf. Love to see that spirited tilt. The crowd got going too. They showed him on the big screen. They were cheering. It really got the juices flowing in that game. And it is a nice and healthy rivalry here with the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Leafs, by the way, have won 5 straight meetings with the Lightning. And speaking of the Lightning, somebody who won 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back with them, Tyler Johnson, who's taken his hand now at some NHL analyst work, is going to drop by here in about 15 minutes' time. I'll be curious to get sort of his thoughts. He's been through it twice to win a cup, and how he feels about this Maple Leafs team moving forward.
Yeah, it's going to be great to get his perspective on that, on the team in general. Like he's obviously had games back in the day against the Leafs. But just his perspective on how this team's looking right now, and get his thoughts on what the trajectory is from not just from the analyst perspective, but from the former player side of things. How does he view this club? So it'd be good to talk to him.
Yep. So Johnny's coming up in about 15 minutes here. Reminder, you can catch Off the Roster, Toronto's new sports show with Cabby, Lindsay Dunn, and Dan Riccio every weekday morning at 10 a.m. on the Nation Network YouTube channel and anywhere you stream your podcast. Off the Roster, the new sound in the 6. Don't miss it. And I'm sure Pagnotta is locked into that. It's the MLB Winter Meetings. Do you think we ever get the NHL Summer Meetings, Dave? Would you attend that?
Yeah, 100%, because they'd probably do it in an environment that's
a Vegas pool.
Attractive. Yeah, no. Vegas pools in July. It's like 40 degrees out there.
Awesome.
I've been down there where they've had to put ice in the pools, and that's you're in a tub. It's gross. Yeah, like we've been talking about this. People have been asking for something like this. Do it around July 1. Do it around the draft and all that. We don't have it, but I'm curious to see what these Jays do.
Yeah, me too. There's, by the way, there is severe pushback when I've tweeted that out before the last couple of years, especially from the insiders who love their cottages in the summer. But I just think the ambiance of like an NHL Summer Meetings would be pretty damn cool. Although I would say the MLB Winter Meetings have lacked the theatrics in recent memory. It seems like the market's always slow playing. It's always the same old shit. So I don't know how much I expect this week at the MLB Winter Meetings in Orlando, but make sure you check out Off the Roster for the very latest, Dave.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what's going on with this Red Sox crap. They met with Bo on FaceTime or Zoom or something or whatever the hell it was yesterday. Apparently, those were some of the reports. So
I don't buy that. I think
if Bichette ends up going to Boston, that's going to suck.
I don't know. I'm so careful when it comes to baseball specifically because stuff is leaked on purpose. Like last I checked, Shohei Ohtani was on a plane to Toronto and he wasn't, right? So I wonder if that's a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to Toronto. Figure out your offer here with Bo Bichette. That's the way I read that.
Heads out of your ass,
why don't
please.
Why don't we leak the rival Boston Red Sox? But anyways, we are a Leafs show at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs want to take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. This segment is brought to you by Table Fare and Social, your go-to pregame and postgame spot located right across the street from the arena and just steps from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Table Fare and Social has you covered with a wide selection of food, cold drinks, and great vibes. Whether you're rolling in with the crew, grabbing a bite with the family, or meeting up for after-work drinks, Table Fare and Social has a table ready for you. Grab a pregame burger at Table Fare and Social right across in the arena. And it's sort of amazing couple games what they'll do to a fan base or a team. It seems to be really, really good vibes right now in Toronto, which, again, is a far cry from earlier on this season. 4-0-1 in the last 5 here, Dave. 1-0-1 here on this homestand, and they've surrendered 10 goals in the past 7 outings of the Maple Leafs. This
is why you can't overreact if you're running a hockey club or a pro sports club, because we'll chirp them for whatever reason. The fans are going to go nuts because everyone's reactionary, and they got to sit back and try to just cool shit down and go, okay, look, we're not going to make a knee-jerk move and this and that and the other, because these guys should be able to get things done. The most impressive part for me in the last little stretch has been the bottom 6 and their contributions, and how Scott Laughton has played now that he's healthier and has a little bit of confidence going with him. How the third line has performed, minus the baseball swing. No, kidding, but just how those guys have performed. You've seen in this last stretch, really since he was sat out. Dakota Joshua has been a different type of player. Nick Roy has been a lot better. McMahon overall has been better. When you're getting those contributions from your bottom 6, which is that's how they designed it, so that they would be able to get some assistance from those guys. That you should be a better type of hockey club. They're at some point the D-core was going to wake up and play better like they did last season. It looks like Tanev's going to be back at some point soon, which is great to see. Just takes a little bit longer, especially nowadays in the National Hockey League where so many teams are good, Nick. It used to be the quarter mark where we started to see separation. Now it's like the 30 to 50% mark where that gap is going to start to widen a little bit longer. You just got to be a little more patient. And so far, it looks like it's paying off and doing all right.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the whole Jekyll and Hyde. Like, my bigger question is, like, where the hell was this for, we'll say, 23 games? Like, I think to your point about the bottom 6, I would go bigger and say defensively, they're actually playing defense right now. And granted, the goaltending's been much better. Like, Hildeby's been good. Before that, Joseph Woll was excellent. But structurally, they're actually it just feels like they're in the lanes. They're clogging things up. They're playing Berube hockey again. They found that identity. I think the buy-in's there.
Yeah, well, they got back to it. And, when you're not playing that way and you're losing and you're getting frustrated and this and that shit boils over into the game. So you're starting to do a little, it's all the normal cliche excuses, but it's legit. Like, that's what happens. And sometimes you need a kick in the ass to get going. And sometimes it takes 1 or 2 guys to feel that. And then, all right, then the rest of the lineup, the other guys start to roll too. They start playing with a little bit more confidence as well. You start doing the little things that made you successful before, and then it all starts to click. This is a good little stretch that they're on. You obviously want to see it continue. That's just how things go. And this isn't exclusive to Toronto. This is other teams too. I've been in LA all week. And they played in Utah yesterday, but last week I saw 3 games, and that was when they were in a bit of a funk. And then they started to come out of that, played better in a loss on Thursday, played great on Saturday, and won 6-0 against Chicago. It's the same kind of situation here with the Leafs, where you're going through a little bit of a stretch. You're trying to find your game. You pull out a W, you pull out another one. Guys are playing better. Guys are doing what they're supposed to do. And now you start to roll a little bit more. Again, this is what, without replacing Mitch specifically, or not just, but like a first line type player bringing in the summer, they filled in other areas of this team because they anticipated the contributions from their bottom 6 were going to help, and that'll benefit the top guys, the top 6. And that's what we've seen in this little stretch, is the fact that they're a more complete hockey club. Guys are playing professionally, as Berube had tried to instill going back to last season. And you're right. because of that, the D overall, not just the D core, but team defense has been a lot more responsible and a lot better. And that's helped out significantly. And when you've got injuries to Stolars and then Woll's out, and yeah, you've got confidence in Hildeby, as you should, based on how he played last night. But it, like, the rest of the team is still going. They're not trying to overcompensate for the fact that they've got another different guy in net on a particular game. So there's a cohesiveness that's working right now, and you want to see that continue, and you want to see the big boys obviously doing what they're doing, but also have everybody else kind of contributing in the ways that they're supposed to.
Of course, the backbone is the crease. And as mentioned, Joe Woll was great before going down. And now Dennis Hildeby has grabbed that baton. And, 29 saves, his first career shutout. I think it's so fascinating with this guy. He's such a massive presence. Like, I'm 6'3", I'm pretty big dude. I was beside him in the scrum yesterday. This guy towers over me. He's like, what, closer to 6'7", but it's don't even do that 6'7" shit.
No.
I know you're not going to.
No, not a chance.
But like, the great thing about Hildeby too is like how quiet the guy is. Like, if you go listen to his post-game clippings, he doesn't have much to say, man. He just goes in there, makes the saves. And I think I picked up upon the post-game remarks as well from Craig Berube that he's using his size. I think that was the issue I had with Hildeby last year. He's a big dude, but he was playing like a small guy. It made no sense. So we're seeing more of the Hildeby that we saw make a mark a couple years ago, and this is a great, great development for the Maple Leafs. Like, this was best case scenario that Hildeby came in here and pretty much grabbed the baton from Woll, and so far so good here, Dave.
And I've got to think that a guy like excuse me, like Anthony Stolars, another big guy, contributed in that messaging to Hildeby. Use your size to your advantage. Here's how I do it. You're taller than me. You're a little bigger than me. Here's what you should be doing. So I'm sure that's factored in a little bit, and that's kind of given him a different type of confidence. And yeah, he's a chill dude. He's a quiet guy, at least with the media. So that'll come out. That'll broaden as his career kind of goes. But I've got to think utilizing and seeing a teammate of yours or seeing another guy on your team that's utilizing his size to his advantage and making it a strength of his game. Sometimes you just need that little reminder and that little boost. When you've got a guy, a teammate, a professional hockey player as well, it's telling you these things, it just resonates a little bit better. So again, good to see. And let's see how he keeps it up.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're about 5 minutes away from two-time Stanley Cup champion Tyler Johnson hopping on the podcast. By the way, a lot of conversation in the chat over my height. Yes, I am in fact over 6 foot, closer to 6'3". But the Leafs played big, man. Like they took care of business.
If you're that worried or concerned. Sorry, just
Pardon
if
me?
you're that, if people are that, trying to find the I can confirm that's his height. Yeah, Nick's a big kid.
This one guy's like, I thought he was 5'8", but anyways, I thought it was a nice and tidy win. I think the big key there, considering the clusterfuck, Dave, in the standings, is to win that game in regulation. So they got the save.
Yeah, huge.
The saves, I should say. They got the big time goal from Morgan Rielly in the first period. They got the capper via an empty netter from Austin Matthews. I mean, there was some scary moments late in that game, but Hildeby was strong. Stecher made a great goal line save in the first period, but it really was like the epitome, I thought, of a team effort against a really good team. Like, I have to credit Jonas Johansson. I mean, he wasn't overly tested, but I shit on the guy royally yesterday. I'm like, they got no shot with this guy. And I thought he made a couple of good stops. They missed a couple nets to the Maple Leafs, but overall, a really good game. To win that game in regulation, I thought was huge here.
Yeah, they needed that. You need to have those, especially the ones where you're chasing, the teams in front of you. The gap isn't that big. To pull that off and to get 2 points in regulation in a full 60 is big. And that's the key. That's, you try to collect as many as you can against divisional rivals, and you try to do it in 60 and not have to worry too much later on in the season. Obviously you're worrying, but you want to give yourself a little more breathing space later on in the season. So I thought it was going to be a tight game. I didn't anticipate this being a blowout on either side, or something crazy that we saw last week with Columbus in Florida, where it was like 7-6. I anticipated this one being tight. It was a little tighter actually than I thought, but It was. And you mentioned Troy Stecher. Kudos to him, especially during this stretch. Took him a little bit to get his legs going with this new group, but he's been very, very solid on that back end for the Leafs since he's been picked up off waivers from Edmonton. I give him full credit. He's been a guy that's really contributed in a positive way for this group on that back end, and they needed it.
Very professional in my interaction, I would say, so far with Troy Stecher. They're calling him Troy Forsling already here in Toronto, man. Gustav Forsling is like Mr. Waiver wire pickup for the Florida Panthers, of course, multi-time Stanley Cup champion. But I think you just look at the presence of Stecher, and it's still crazy to me, Dave, that he goes from a team in Edmonton, a team that's been to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals on the precipice of finally winning. And, they don't want him anymore. And he goes to Toronto. They're in crisis mode. And he's solidified things. Like, make sense of that for me, please.
Well, that's what happens when you're getting consistent ice time. You're playing on a regular basis. You're getting your minutes. You're being counted on to not screw up. That's a key. But
True.
Just that consistency drives up the confidence levels, right? So game after game, you're doing your thing. You're helping out and contributing. You're being a factor in some games. Confidence continues to increase. And you just start to flow. And a lot of guys, that's just how it is. The more you play, the more opportunities you have, the more responsibility you have. Eventually, the better you get at it because you know your role and you know what to do. In Edmonton, he was kind of bouncing in and out. Here, he's been given full reign and full responsibility. He's harnessed it. And we're seeing a player that's playing with, I'm not saying he's puffing his chest out or anything, but he's playing a lot more statured than he was in Edmonton because he just didn't know what that role was going to be on a game-by-game basis. He knows right now in Toronto.
Yeah, my curiosity, if and when Brandon Carlo comes back, and of course they get Tanev, I saw him hopping around the rink last night, what they do with that lineup. Like, I mean, Stetcher's at a point where he's played himself into the lineup and somebody's on the outside looking in, but a story and a conversation for a different day. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as we bring in today's guest, the pride of Spokane, Washington himself, two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Lightning. It is Tyler Johnson. Johnny, how's it going, buddy? How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. We're just breaking down this 2-0 victory for the Maple Leafs last night against the Lightning. What were some of your major takeaways from that game?
Well, I thought the Lightning started off really good. I thought Hildeby kind of kept them in that first period and kind of changed the momentum a little bit. And I know you were just talking about Troy there. He had that unbelievable save on the goal line there. I think that really could have changed the momentum. And, I think the second period kind of got away from the Lightning and the Leafs kind of took it to them. But I thought both goalies played well. There's a lot of chances for both teams, but, it was a low-scoring affair.
Talk about, if you can, just from the player perspective, that it's been an up and down start for the Leafs up until recently, and now they're on this stretch. Big win, as we just talked about, against Tampa last night. But to see them go on this bit of a stretch here where they're piling up the W's, there's more confidence. Is it just a matter of, hey, it just takes a little bit of time and we put a couple together and now we can start rolling here? How does that confidence start to build to see teams and their players playing better in a longer stretch over several games?
Yeah, I think we've always said, one of our biggest mottos is easier to stay on a roll than get on a roll. And then it just means, to get those wins at the first points, it's tough. But once you get the confidence, once you get, it just seems like you get those bounces more often. And when you do that, wins start piling on. It's a little bit, more fun in the locker room. Practices are a little bit more lighthearted, and everyone's just in a better mood. And when you're like that, I feel like that's the best time to play, that everything just kind of comes naturally to you. And, when you're losing, sometimes you're a little too tight on the stick. And, when you're piling on the wins, it's always a good feeling. So it's good for the Leafs to be able to do that. And now they're super close in the conference. I mean, it's pretty much anyone's game going into the playoffs here.
Yeah, the standings are so fascinating. We'll get to that. But I want to get sort of your breakdown on Dennis Hildeby. And there's always a fascination in this league. It always seems to happen to the Leafs, by the way. It has in recent memory, where somebody will get called up and like they have no book on the guy and he steals the show. But it was refreshing to see the Maple Leafs do that to another team. What was your read on Hildeby, and how difficult is it as a shooter to not really have a book on a guy the way Hildeby's only played a couple games in this league so far?
Yeah, I mean, in the regular season, you don't focus too much on goalies, I suppose, when you play against the different ones. So having a book on a guy doesn't really mean a whole lot. But he came in and did an extremely good job. He's a tall, athletic goaltender. He was moving around the crease really well. He was going side to side. Good on his angles. I think. He had that really good pad save on Jurgensen there in the first period from side to side. And I don't know if he's capable of doing that if he isn't as big and athletic as he is. So he looked extremely good. I think the Leafs have a good one in him, and he had a really good game last night.
You touched on just how crazy and tight the standings are, and the Leafs are 12th in the East, but they're 2 points out of a playoff spot, 2 points out of third, 2 points behind Tampa, 3 points out of first. What do you make of this division right now, and just how everything is just so tight still at this moment?
Yeah, I think it's great. I'd much rather a division conference that way just because every game matters. You can get on a roll for a week or two, and then all of a sudden you're in the top of the standings, and vice versa. You could, lose for a week or two and you're in the bottom. So it just makes everything mean so much more. And, I think it just kind of shows the parity of the league of how good teams are being right now. There's not really any teams tanking. Every team's solid from top to bottom. Every team has 4 lines that can play. And there's injuries that happen, but, there's a lot of guys stepping up and playing different roles, especially I know Tampa's had a lot of injuries and had a lot of, kind of a rotating carousel of guys. And I think it says a lot about the skill of the league, though, that guys can fit in right away.
Ty, I think it's really cliche in the NHL world. We talk a lot about pacing yourself just to get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like the Panthers are a prime example of that. You guys, year after year, would just make the playoffs, get into the dance, and do your thing. But how would you describe that as a player? Like, how does a team truly pace themselves? You clearly don't go out there and try to lose games, but is it all about the process?
It's about how you play. I think that's the biggest thing. You can't expect your A game every single night, but you have to be doing the right things. You have fundamentals that you're preaching in video, preaching in practice, and as long as you're doing the little things that you think is going to be the recipes for success in the playoffs, I think that's what every team kind of focuses on. And yeah, you want all the wins, you want to win every single game, but I think the most majority biggest thing is just to play the right way. And if you're doing that, you can handle a few losses that you feel like, you maybe should have won. But in the end, it's all about that. And it is a long season. So you can't get too high, can't get too low. You just got to keep on working.
And you got to get everybody contributing, right? Like what made you guys so successful in Tampa was just utilizing, you touched on it before, all 4 lines. Toronto, if we cycle back to the Leafs, their bottom 6 is starting to roll now. You're starting to see more production out of them, more effectiveness out of them. If you could touch on the importance of that from Toronto's perspective to make sure that their bottom 6 guys are doing the little intangibles and the extra things that are needed to win, and how important, if you can describe that, for a championship caliber roster.
Yeah, to win a championship, you have to play roles. I mean, there's certain things that every guy has to do. I mean, whether it's maybe you're going to be a little bit more defensive. Maybe you're the offensive guy. Maybe you're PP. Maybe it's you're just going to be the guy on the forecheck and hit. Everyone has to know their roles, has to be defined. Every player has to realize what that is. And sometimes you may not like your role, but to be a championship team, you have to play it because it's going to be whatever's going to help the team succeed the most is what's going to be most beneficial. And when you get all the guys playing, you can't be a top-heavy team and go in playoffs and try to win. It has to be all 4 lines. And, from our championship teams that we had, it was any other given night that a different player was going to step up, a different line was going to step up and contribute. And that was the reason why we won. We could count on everybody. If you had an off night, we knew someone was going to be there for us.
Always helps when you have that Vasilevsky guy, that Hedman guy, that Kucherov guy, that point guy. Dare I go on? But boys, I took it on the chin. I think it was a couple weeks ago on Twitter, which we all know is a fucking cesspool to begin with. But I said I took the last decade for granted for this Maple Leafs team, and I got a lot of response saying, "What exactly did you take for granted? Like 2 playoff series victories?" That's a good rebuttal, I'll be honest. But as somebody who played against the Leafs in the height of the Core 4 era, how shocked were you, just as a player in the league, that team was never able to really push through and get anywhere in the playoffs?
I mean, they're a really good team. They had a lot of skill. They had a lot of talent. I think the biggest thing was, like you said, the roles. There was times where I think maybe it could have been defined a little bit more for them, a little bit risky. Then I think that costed them a little bit. And that was one thing that we always said when we played Toronto, is that we were just gonna be patient and let them kind of make the mistakes, and then we're just gonna try to pounce on it after that. So they had a ton of skill, ton of talent though, and they were a team that, if you were going to have an off night against them, they were going to make it pay. So you got to play a very smart game, and quite frankly, a boring game against them in order to win, because we did have a lot of skill, we had a lot of talent, but we didn't want to go skill and skill against them. There's just different ways that we wanted to win, and we had to really focus on that.
You've got, when you guys were rolling, John Cooper, you have him behind the bench, and that presence and that messaging was so impactful. Toronto's got a guy in Craig Berube who's won as well, one with St. Louis. How important is it to have a guy behind the bench as your head coach, just relaying the right message for you guys? Everybody's group is a little bit different, obviously, but just relaying whatever message resonates with that group. How important is it to have that presence and to have a guy who's not afraid to just give you the gears when you need to hear it?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's one of the things that I probably learned the most throughout my career is how big of a difference a good coach makes. I mean, it really starts up top. It starts, he starts all the traditions, all the, fundamentals, all the things you really have to focus on. And when you have a coach that has all the details and kind of makes the game a little bit easier for you to play, it's huge. And, it's his job to be able to kind of put you in the right roles. And once you get in those roles, he's trying to detail everything and make it easy for you. And, one good thing about what Coop had done is we kind of built on that year after year. And, then we had some really good leaders in our locker room, and not only the people with season A's, but really just everyone that was a part of it. And there was a lot of times towards the end of my career there that, Coop wouldn't even come into a locker room. He just knew that the players knew what we had to do. And we had a lot of guys step up and talk, and we kind of coach for us in a way, just because Coop had so much faith in that he's taught us everything. And I think that goes a long ways. I think it shows a lot of trust in your room that everyone's on the same page. And once you get to the playoffs, that's all that matters. Everyone needs to be gelling and vibing for each other. And I don't know anyone better in the league than Coop at that.
The real life Gordon Bombay. He loves it when I call him that. But I want to get just your overall thoughts on this Maple Leafs team. We talked about this turbulence to start the season. It really feels like they found their footing. They scored 10 goals in the last 7 games. Answer honestly, and I know you will, being a former player in this league, but do you think this roster, this team is built more so for the playoffs as opposed to the regular season? Like, do you get that feel? Watch them at least the way you did last night?
Yeah, I think they have a really good roster. I think they have some guys that play physical, play with a chip on their shoulder. I know they have a few injuries that you mentioned before, but I think if the goaltending continues to be good like it was last night, and they're starting to score some goals. I like the fact that Toronto's able to win a 2-0 game. I think that says a lot about a team when you can get those wins. I would rather a 2-0 win than a 7-4 win or something like that going into playoffs. It just means a lot more that you can play that team defense, and it seemed like they did that. I mean, if you look at Tampa, they had quite a few shots, but really they're kind of perimeter. They didn't really get into the inside a whole lot. Outside of that first period, they didn't really have any odd man rushes, that kind of thing. And that's what you really want as a team. And, I really thought that they've been playing well, the Leafs. And obviously it's still pretty early in the season, but if they can keep building on this and get to where they want to be, I think they could be a really, a good team in the playoffs.
And Ty, I think you were fortunate enough to an extent to play in Tampa, where the media spotlight's a bit different than I would say here in Toronto. And everybody's trying to point the finger. People are trying to fire people on a daily basis. Recently, I don't know if you know this, but I guess Newsy, Derek Lalonde was the issue with this team. But now those people have been very, very quiet because, again, they've scored 10 goals in the last 7 games. So what was it like to work alongside Newsy on that Tampa bench there?
Oh, I love Newsy. He's a guy that just was very lighthearted. He kept the vibes great on the ice or in the locker room. He's a very smart guy. He was one of the ones that led a lot of our video sessions, kind of broke things down for us, whether it be as a team or as one-on-one. So I think he's a great coach. We were sad to see him go from Tampa there, but he's a good guy to have in the room for sure.
Just wanted to wrap by asking you about the big boys, man. Like my major takeaway as somebody, who has watched this Lightning team very, very closely. In fact, I haven't told you this, but I have a signed jersey from a couple years ago, and I believe your autograph is on there. So I'm going to put it on eBay after the show. But what's it like being around like these absolute stallions, man? Like, because I think if there's one thing I've noticed with this Maple Leafs team, they lack that like oomph, like that swag, that confidence. Like I'm watching Cooch snap it around last night. Hedman just back from injury. When Vasi, the big cat's in there, like there's just this confidence, this swagger. So what's it like being around those types of players on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think confidence and swagger is kind of hurt. So if you don't have it now, it doesn't mean you're not going to have it later. As you continue to play well and get the confidence that works. But with our team, again, I think it stems from Coop. I think he has a lot of swag, sometimes maybe a little bit too much, but it just kind of oozes out to everybody. So Cooch, Vazzy, Hetty, Pointer. I mean, the list goes on with those guys, but you just know that they're going to give it their all every single night, and they can turn the game and flip of a switch. So it's fun playing with those guys. It makes you play a little bit better because you're just more relaxed, and hey, we might be down a goal or two, but that's going to change. So I absolutely love it. They're great guys to be around, and unbelievable teammates. So I was pretty fortunate to play with them.
Awesome stuff, and we'll see what happens moving forward here with this Maple Leafs team, the Lightning, and the Atlantic Division in general. It's been a cluster so far to start this season. Can't thank you enough, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Anytime. That is Tyler Johnson, two-time Stanley Cup champion, the pride of Spokane, Washington, breaking things down. But it's always great to hear sort of inside that room of those juggernaut teams of the Tampa Bay Lightning as somebody. I think he was on that triplets line, right, for a long period of time there.
Yep. Yeah. No, his line was rolling all the time. I was there for those cup wins, the bubble wins as well, and that was a pain in the ass, but whatever. But it was great. It was good to see. Those guys, just those caliber players that were just rolling consistently for those championship teams. He's right. Like those are the units and the lines that you need to push you over the top, because obviously teams are going to be gunning for the big boys, the top tier guys, and try to shut them down as much as you can. When you've got more in your arsenal to deploy, it usually leads to significant success, as we saw with his groups in Tampa year after year. They were just banging on the door consistently, and they pulled away 2 wins, or 2 cups at that point. And look, he touched on it as well, just how important it is from top to bottom in that room, from the head coach to the assistants and down, to the guys on the ice. Like, to have those types of players, those types of people in your organization that are able to send the right messages to you and just to know how to handle you. Like he touched on it. Coop, sometimes he doesn't even go in the room in certain circumstances and after periods and whatnot. If the guys are rolling, the players, or even if they're not, if the players just understand the messaging and understand what has to happen next, you don't need to go into that room and just start throwing F-bombs left, right, and center. Sometimes you take it back, let them try to fix it. And that's something that we've also seen with Berube. Now, earlier on in the season, he's had to drop a few more to get these guys going. But now that things are starting to roll a little bit, let's see how that continues to play out, especially when you've got, again, guys in your bottom 6 that are really contributing. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from the third and fourth lines, specifically on that fourth line, Scott Laughton, and then just everybody on that third line really just doing their jobs.
Yeah, I think Lawton's been big as well for the PK, right? The PK has really accelerated the last little while, 20 of the last 22 kills. And I think Lawton's just a prime example of that, right?
Well, he's been key. Like, and just all, and the energy that he brings, like he's another glue guy that you want in your room. So the energy that he brings on and off the ice, the level of compete that he brings on it, what he's capable of doing, getting rewarded occasionally with certain point tallies and whatnot, getting that shorthanded goal the other night.
Yeah.
Just to see that, that again, that comes like that translates into the rest of the group. That kind of stuff is, I can't I forgot the word, but
Infectious,
it's
contagious.
contagious. Thank you. Yes. That it is, and guys feed off that, and it's like to have a caliber player like him doing what he's doing. This is exactly what he was brought in for. They thought they were going to get from last season, but he's doing everything right this season that they've needed him to do while he's been healthy.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Again, once again, thank you to Tyler Johnson for dropping by the podcast. Major League Baseball is headed towards a lockout. I mean, I can't believe it. I thought this was a joke when you just texted this to me, but Edwin Diaz, the best closer on the market, has signed with the LA Dodgers because, of course, he has for 3 years and $69 million. Like, I think the Dodgers are going to three-peat, but anyways, this is a Maple Leaf show. Again, a very tidy, professional effort. Morgan Riley scores the game winner. Hildeby's awesome in that game, and the standings are so fascinating to me. But the one thing I wanted to get your thought on was just this power play, dude. Like 0 for 2 again, 10 for 72 on the year. There has to be a point where you would have to think Craig Berube comes out and says, you know what? I've reassigned Mark Savard. He could do something else for the time being. I'm going to work more closer with the power play, try to figure this out. Because I'm sorry to break it to everybody, you're not going to win every game 2-0. You need your power play to score and chip in from time to time, even if it's like in the middle of the league. They're in the bottom. Like they're bottom 3. They're not scoring at all. Imagine the impact that has on a team that you have to rely on 5-on-5 as much as you do. And I mean, they got more penalty kill goals, like shorthanded goals in the last 7-8 games than they do on the power play. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's got to be addressed at some point. Like we know last season, and I've said this before, like last season, their power play was just hot garbage in the first half of the season. And then it started to take off. But they were in a hell of a better position last season than they are right now. And again, it's not like they're far off. They're 3 points out of friggin' first place in the Atlantic. But you need to be able to count on your special teams and especially the power play. And it's been shit. It's that simple. Eventually, the coach is going to come in and start to take over. There's another club that's been in the bottom 5 where their head coach in the last 3 games of theirs, I believe, has now stepped in and taken over the power play. If this keeps going, I see Berube doing the exact same thing and just saying, look, we need this. So I'm going to step in here. I'm going to implement my plan for it. And then we're going to go from there. If it works, we're keeping it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But something has to change. Sometimes it's as simple, and it's not simple. It's difficult. If you ask these guys, it's difficult. This shoot, get pucks on net. It's not easy. There's a lot of traffic in front. But just trying to get more pucks to the net, just shooting the damn thing and hoping for a couple bounces and some rebounds. Sometimes that pays off, and sometimes it pays off in the flukiest of ways, but it just starts to build a little bit of momentum and you get extra confidence there. You got to try something. And this perimeter shit and looking for the cutesy pass and, what the perfect play is not working. And it has to change at some point. I thought it would have been adjusted by now, or at least they would have been responding better and scoring more. It just hasn't happened. At some point soon here, something's got to give.
Dave, is it too early to say Austin Matthews made a giant mistake by taking a 4-year deal, not an 8-year deal in his career?
No, I don't think so.
No? What's your
no.
read on this guy? Because I'm having a difficult time. He scores an empty netter last night, but did he have much bearing on the game at all?
I don't think he's 100% again.
Okay.
And I think that's really affected him. Now, I give him credit because the dude wants to play and wants to help his team as much as he can. And he's a presence out there. He's going to take focus from the opposition onto him, which you hope opens things up for his line mates or other guys whenever he's on the ice. I don't think he's playing at 50 by any stretch, but I think he's not 100. Let's put it that way.
This guy's missing the net like crazy, man. I just can't get it through my head. This is the same guy who scored 69 goals, man. Like there's a couple surefire plays yesterday where I'm like, that usually is in the back of the net. I don't know what's going on here, man.
And he's fine. He's trying to find when I don't want to keep going back to Mitch, but when you lose that player, guys have to replace. Guys have to replace some of that responsibility, some of what he brought to the table. And I think Austin's been looking to do that in certain circumstances where he's not trying to be a pure facilitator, but he's just doing it more than he's had to so far in his career. And I think that adjustment is also affecting a little bit of his play. It's very tiny, it's minuscule in terms of adjustments on the ice, but it's there. And I think it's in the back of his head a little bit. So I think that's affecting his play to a certain extent. Plus the fact that, again, I don't think he's fully 100, but I don't think he's bad. But I think all of those different elements, he's just redefining his game to a certain extent. And I think just having to take on a little bit of different responsibility, not extra, but just different, is affecting the offensive part of his game a little bit. I think it'll come back. He still has one of the craziest shots in the league, or releases in the league. And I think all of that's going to come back to him. He's going to go on a heater at some point here.
7 shots on goal for Austin Matthews last night. He just looks a bit off. And I seriously wonder if we'll ever get back to a point where we view Austin Matthews as a top 5 player on the planet. I just don't know if he'll ever be that type of guy anymore.
What's going to be fully indicative of that is his responsibilities with Team USA, because other people, other hockey minds are going to see, they're going to deploy him in the way that they see him being capable of being deployed. I think he's going back with the C on his chest for the U.S., and I think he's going to be put in different situations that they're just fully confident in his capabilities. And sometimes from a team that we cover regularly, you cover a lot, the fan base, obviously, you're all Leaf fans, to see an outside perspective at the same level is going to give a good indicator. Is going to be, a good indicator of just how the rest of the league views his capabilities. Remember, like this is as example. Carey Price with the Habs for so long, even though the Habs at certain points were junk, for so long, the NHL player poll would categorize him and say he's the number 1 goalie in the league. He's the top dog, even though you saw Shesterkin and Lundqvist and Vasilevsky and so on just being so dominant. It was always Carey Price that was the guy that they didn't want to face the most. And that's from the player side of things. And the Habs were at certain points shit. So it's always good to get the other perspective from the rest of the league. And believe me, pretty much everybody out there still views Austin as a top tier threat. Again, I think it's just having to make subtle adjustments to his game that's affected him. If he only had 2 shots last night and not 7, then I go, oh, okay. And he's doing that consistently, then something's definitely off. But I think, as I said, I think that we're going to see at some point soon, he's going to go on a bit of a run here.
Hope you're right. John Tavares, I thought, was awesome last night. He rang one off the crossbar, I believe, in the second period, but I thought he was all over the ice. And that's been such a story and such a theme. And, it's only fitting you're in LA. I was there, remember, with you guys at DB's pad, which you are right now, Dennis Bernstein, where he signs that extension, $4.38 million per season. But what a bargain, what a professional. And I thought he was outstanding last night in a pivotal game for this team.
Yeah, again, he's been lights out all season. He's been really the key piece of this club. Just based on his performance to this point in the season, he's been key. He's been clutch. How many times have we said, "Man, what a play by John Tavares this last night or tonight or in this game"? There have been so many different instances where he's just done the little extra things. And you see that devotion to the game, and you see that desire to try to make plays and to try to win. And honestly, I didn't expect it as often as he's done it so far this season. You needed someone to do it. He's stepped up in a big way so far for this group, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
Dave, just to wrap, since you are an insider, maybe just get sort of anything, any place you want to steer with this, from the Joseph Woll timeline. The Leafs still searching for a top 6 forward. Max Domi, could he be in play moving forward? And even I'd love to get just sort of your assessment on Quinn Hughes. It feels like we're all waiting for that shoe to drop in Vancouver. They got punted last night by Detroit, although Vancouver had a lot of shots on goal. John Gibson was great in that game, but suddenly the Red Wings now first in the Atlantic Division. Why isn't every team in the league not interested in Quinn Hughes? Even if you're a playoff team, get this guy potentially for 2 runs at things.
Well, okay, starting here. There are a lot of teams that have reached out to Vancouver that have said, when you're ready, give us a call. Like, we want to be part of this. So this isn't, I know we're all hearing, and I've reported it too, New Jersey, Detroit, Philly, Rangers, the usual suspects right now are what we're calling them with interest in Quinn Hughes. There are others. There are a lot of teams that have reached out again and said, and done the same thing that New Jersey's done. And all of these teams have done that I mentioned, that said, okay, we got your memo. We like this guy. We like that guy. Hey, what's the deal with Quinn? What are you thinking here? And I still maintain that I'd be a little bit surprised if he's traded in season, frankly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think the writing is on the wall, as you know, as it seems. It's just a lot of hype around it. A lot of people tried pouring cold water on the fact that he called Tom Fitzgerald Fitzy. I do, like everybody does in the league when you're talking to him. So it's just normal. And there's the Team USA thing and camps and all that stuff, like over his career so far. I just think, so here's the thing. If the Vancouver Canucks move Quinn Hughes, and it's for like quasi futures, like young kids that are just making the jump to the NHL now, and other young pieces / future pieces, that signifies a rebuild. How the hell are you rebuilding when you've got 7 other guys on your roster with no movement clauses right now, plus 2 other guys with modified no trades, plus 2 more no movement clauses that kick in July 1? You can't go through a full rebuild. So I get the notion, it's sexy to talk about. And look, he could be traded. The cliche thing that we all say is it takes one phone call. But I don't think they're there yet. I think some options have been discussed loosely, but I don't think they're there yet. So honestly, Nick, I'd be, again, a little surprised, not fully surprised or shocked, but a little bit surprised if something were to happen in season. Quinn holds a lot of the cards here. Him and his camp and his agent, Pat Brisson, they hold a lot of the cards in this situation. And I just haven't gotten the sense that it's anything imminent or close, or that the Canucks have fully determined that they're going down this road. Not yet, anyway. So we'll see where that goes. Going back to the Leafs, with Woll, my understanding is they don't want to rush a return from him, and if Hildeby keeps playing this way, then no problem. You don't have to. I was told it's not serious, so it's legitimately not serious. Not this little, 1 week and then he's out 3 months that we've seen before. But I think it's a little bit longer than the week that was put on it. I could see something in and around the holiday break, either before or after, in terms of back consistent in game action. At least that's kind of the notion. But I was told this is nothing serious. They just don't want to rush it because of, obviously, he's got some injury history and whatnot in the past, and probably the right move.
Yeah, I would say so. And it certainly helps when the need's not there right now. Like, Hildeby's playing out of his mind. But as a Leafs guy and fan, all I could think about is, like, how many games is too much for Dennis Hildeby? Because that's always the conversation in this market, in the NHL world. How taxing can it be for a guy to play every game? And, I look to the first back-to-back. Is it going to be Akhtyamov? Is it going to be somebody else? That's the only prime concern for me, is like, how many games in a row can Hildeby play? But he's been outstanding. They got the extra day off going into Thursday's game against Ryan Reeves' San Jose Sharks. So looking forward to that one. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. A few different avenues I'm looking at tonight, Dave. I like Vegas to beat the New York Islanders, and I was eyeing that Jersey-Ottawa game. Like, that's a sidebar story of all this. Is like, yeah, maybe Quinn Hughes does go to Jersey, but like, the Devils are in a massive tailspin, have not been the same team since Jack Hughes went down. So I might play the Devils against the Ottawa Senators here. They need to win badly.
Yeah, they really do. I don't mind that one. I was gonna go under in Islanders and Golden Knights. I think that's going to be a bit of a tight one. I could see overtime going in that game, quite frankly. But yeah, that's one of the ones I was looking at. And then the other is the back-to-back for Tampa. They're playing the Habs tonight, and I think Dobesh is playing in net for the Habs. So I'm expecting a response, but this is another under for me. But I'm thinking the Habs pull this one off.
I like Tampa in that game. I don't know if Halverson's going to play that game. Yeah, we'll go toe to toe. I think Tampa needs a bounce back. They need a win. That's a big underlying story too. They've dropped 4 in a row. I know Vasi's out, but Kucherov, they got nothing last night. So Kucherov, I think, is good for a point or two. Hedman as well, and wouldn't be shocked if Tampa goes in there and finds a way to win that game or at least get to OT, because Montreal's always in overtime, right?
I was going to say I anticipate. I wouldn't be shocked if that's an OT game.
Yeah.
At all for them. And the Habs need a rebound too. Losing to St. Louis over the weekend on Sunday. They need a rebound as well. So I think they pull it off. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's OT. I'm taking the under in that, and then under in Isles and Vegas.
Sounds good, Dave. Great stuff today. Safe travels home, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, buddy. Go Jays. Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out is right. Thank you to Dave Pagnotta for hopping on and being my co-host today. Jay Rosehill back in the mix tomorrow. Thank you to Tyler Johnson, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, for guesting on today's show. Speaking of tomorrow, former Toronto Marlies head coach, former NHL head coach, Rosie's former coach, Dallas Eakins, is going to drop by the podcast. So looking forward to reuniting with him at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Dave Pagnotta, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.